What is going on, everybody? Sorry, I'm late to my own party. I, yeah, just I'm sorry, I lost track of time there. I went to take a cat nap, and I thought I'd be up about a half hour ago, and apparently I was a little more tired than I thought. Um, Somebody out there was kind enough to call. I didn't get a chance to even answer the call. I realized, like, wait, something's not right, and I checked everything, and sure enough, I was late. So apologies for that, but we are here, and we're ready to go. And you know what? Oh, there it is. My list of things here. Yes. All right. So the five most hated cruisers, right? And one of them just happens to be that person that's late. So I just wanted to make a point to do that. No, that's not it. But that is we will be talking about that tonight. And let me say hi to everybody that's here, since you all were so kind to wait for me. And hopefully everybody I'm saying hi to is still here. And oh my goodness, look at that. I see you all were talking while I was snoozing there. We have Erin. I think this is her first gold medal. And she is our admin by herself tonight because, and unless Mike is here, because Tim is going to be busy. So hopefully Erin can hold the fort down here for us. And we have Carnival Cruise Addicts back once again. They survived not one, but two hurricanes. So great to see you two as always. Liz and Chris from Carnival Cruise Addicts. And what's going on? Then we had for the bronze medal, we had Jason Cool. Good to see you, Jason, there. Seg is here once again. Yoli says, hi, coach. Hi, Zoe. And Zoe's just happy that the treats are still flowing. So I got those together. Otherwise, I'd have been, just a minute or so earlier than I was. We got Ken here as well. Ken Pascal, good to see you again. J&T Adventures. Cruise Life TV survived the hurricanes as well. And anybody that dealt with those hurricanes, either Milton or Helene, and some of you dealt with both of them, depending upon where you were. I realized, it hit a little different spots, but I mean, it's still a hurricane and it's still really bad weather. So hopefully it didn't hurt you or anybody, and your possessions and all the worldly things you have are still all in one piece. So Michelle from Cruise Life TV is saying, hey, JMT Adventures, as I said. Let's see here. Go through. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. All right. I see we have 23 people on. While I'm thinking about it, if you didn't hate the wait, if you could hit the like button, although I'm probably a little guts saying that today, right? We got Sandy the Lost Pirate Jenkins after being late and all. He'd be like, I'm not hitting that damn like button. Couldn't blame you for that. Sandy the Lost Pirate Jenkins is here. Good to see you as always, Sandy. And Zoe is trying to get her whole bowl of treats all at once. Talk about that for anybody that might be new here. I think we got a lot of our veteran returners again. And look at that. Cruise Life TV has started us off with a super sticker. And what do you know? Right behind is Carnival Cruise Addicts. You all are awesome. And let's transition right there. And thank you for giving me that transition, because we can go in, and Tim was carrying over from last week. We actually got two. Did we get two shirts last week? Cruise Life TV. I know I owe you a shirt. Carnival Cruise Addicts. I think I owe you a shirt. And Yoli and Andrew, I owe you a shirt. So you all just need to tell me what color and size, and I will get those to you. Let's see. So let me get Cruise Life TV here. They have 5, so that makes you 3 through 7. And then Carnival Cruise Addicts does a $15 super chat. and says for our favorite late pure runner. And yeah, I have been a pure runner before, and yeah, well, thank you for that. So that makes you 8 through 22. And for anybody that doesn't know, when somebody does a $10 super chat, Zoe here gets a treat just like this. And high five for Liz and Chris from Carnival Cruise Addicts. And thank you very much for that. And when it's a $15 super chat, I get a treat of my own. And we're still working on this bottle of Buffalo Trace. And I've got another bottle of Buffalo Trace after this one. So I guess we needed this, right? We need a little jolt to get us going here. So thank you for that. Ooh, man. Wow. Okay. I'm awoken. I am awoken. Cruise Life TV, Carnival Cruise Addicts again. Thank you for that. Will G is here. I think, Will, you just did a cruise, didn't you? Yeah. Ann is here once again. Good to see you, Ann. And look at that. There's Frankie Floyd just right on their heels. And Frankie, I know, just did a cruise. And were you on the Celebration, Frankie? I forget. Or no, you were on the Horizon. Frankie and I was, oh, he's on the Horizon now. That's what it is. And because I know when Frankie started that cruise, I said, Frankie, I know how you like to party. Let's keep the ship in one piece because I'm hoping to get on it in about a month. So just over a month now. So 23 through 27 for you, Frankie. And we are off to a great start here, despite me being late there. Then we have Ben right up the road. He is rooting for well, I guess he's not rooting for them anymore. The Brewers still, no, they're out, right? I haven't been paying as much attention to baseball because, the Cubs have been gone for forever, though. So, yeah. Okay, are we almost? Oh, I thought I was almost caught up there. Nathaniel Orvis is here on Facebook. Good to see you, Nathaniel. Thanks for getting us covered on both sides. And Will is 23 days away. So he is, I think I'm 37, 38 days away. So you're 2 weeks earlier than me there, Will. So good for you. So thank you all for getting those super chats started off here. And we can get started with the show. I think I covered everything so far. There's some would you rathers that I had laying around somewhere, and we might have to just go off the cuff on those. But let's get into the 5 cruisers that people hate. And I didn't order these, but let me try to put them in a list from 5 to 1, and you can dispute the order of these. But I'm going to start with I guess you could call it, I put it down as the selfish cruisers. So those selfish cruisers, and this may not be a fitting term, but think the cruise is about them. They do things or take actions to where others don't matter as much as their individual time. And I can appreciate that to a point because you are going on vacation. It's your vacation, right? But when your vacation impedes on others' enjoyment of their vacation, then that makes it you being a little bit selfish, right? So Carnival has done a much better job, and a lot of cruise lines are doing a much better job, frankly. We go to the cruise lines, and what do we see there? We see dogs, drug sniffing and everything, and sometimes dogs are actually on the ship. And there are heavy fines levied for people caught smoking marijuana and things like that, and doing other bad things. So I remember not too long ago, just a few years ago, sometimes you would get on a ship and it'd be smelling like weed. It'd be smelling like marijuana, all the time because people didn't care. There were no real punishments or whatever, and they could get away with just smoking marijuana anytime they wanted. Now I realize there's a lot of people out there, maybe yourself, that like to smoke marijuana, but you probably uh didn't get too crazy with it or do it around others because obviously there's a lot of people that are not going to like that environment. Family cruise line carnival, for example. And yeah, so some people did and they just didn't care. Another thing, and that I coupled in with that, are the portable speakers. We still see those, right? I have a portable speaker. I don't know how many people out there have a portable speaker, but there's some people that are able to get those portable speakers on, and I was able to do it my last cruise. But what some people will do is they assume, or they don't care, that other people are around them, or they think that their music is so great that everybody is just going to like it, right? And so they'll walk through, and usually, in fairness, it's a teen or something like that, but not all the time. But they'll walk through, and I remember most recently, I think the time I remember, I think I was on the Carnival Celebration, and young man, late teens, early 20s, and he's walking around with the book bag, and he's got his portable speaker blasting music, that he wants to hear, right? And whatever it was, I was like, no, that's, not for me or whatever. I didn't say anything because, again, I'm on vacation. I probably should have said something, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to wait till he's gone or whatever and not let it bother me too much. But again, it was about him, right? He didn't care about the people that he was walking by, or he thought, hey, this is good music, so they're just going to have to deal with it. So, again, that's, just selfish. Think of yourself, what you like. I do this on the beach sometimes. I'll bring my portable speaker, and you're away from the ship, so it shouldn't even count. But, if people come sit by, I'd be like, hey, do you mind, that is this, if this music's bothering you, let me know or whatever. And in most cases, it's not that loud anyway, so you can barely hear it a couple seats over. But most of the time, it's like, oh yeah, no worries, whatever. And yeah, so that is number 5. The cruisers that people hate are cruisers that are selfish. And I just gave you a couple of examples of why it's all about them, and forget about the outside people and everything. So there you go. Seg just asked, Coach, are you okay? Seg, yeah, let's see. Hold on a second. I hope I look okay. I hope it wasn't a reference to how I'm looking. I know, like I said, I got up, had a little late siesta there. Aaron says, saying something always seems to cause everyone to want to be confrontational. Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. There we go. It's back. Be confrontational instead of realizing what they're doing is an issue. Yeah, and that's the other thing. There's oftentimes there's going to be something that it just bothers people, but again, they don't want to get into a confrontation because they're on vacation and nobody wants to be in a confrontation. Well, that's kind of giving away one here. Most people don't want to be in a confrontation, right? When they're on vacation, because they're on vacation. That's the type of stuff that unfortunately they're trying to get away from, back home. So yeah, excellent point. And Seg, yes, I am okay. If that's what you're asking, maybe you just got back on and realized, oh, okay, he's oh, yeah, it is my internet. Okay, you know what? Yeah, my internet is showing that I only have 1 bar for some reason. And here's the thing. What's annoying about that is I paid for the extra high speed internet. So this is the first time since I purchased that high speed internet that I've heard anybody say that it's kind of crappy, but I apologize for that. And yeah, let me I can't do anything about it right now. Hopefully it's a little bit better, but I see we've dropped off a few people. So, okay. Hopefully it just gets better here. I would say All right. Yeah. All right. Okay. Sorry about that. Today it's just not going well, not starting off here well. So, that's number 5. So give me some other examples in the comments if you could, if I'm not freezing too much. Cruise Life TV says I sound fine. Okay, so hopefully down there in Florida at least, everything's okay. But yeah, in the comments, if there's some other example of cruisers being selfish, or the cruisers that you hate, some examples of them being selfish, only thinking about themselves, that there might be a couple of those incidents that are included in my top 5 here. But Carnival Cruise Addict says line cutters. Okay, yeah, that's a good example. So it's one thing when it's one or two people, like say you're going with a couple or whatever, and a couple goes to get a drink, and they catch up with you in line, just a little bit later, like 5-10 minutes. But there are certain situations where people might be waiting for a half hour, 45 minutes, something like that. The comedy line is a good example. We've seen those lines, right, that they're insanely long. And if it's one or two people, you're probably not minding one or two people jumping in, because probably the plan was you were all going to get together, right, and go in. But then you see like seats are going to be at a premium, or seats are going to be difficult to get. Maybe you're in the latter part of the line or whatever, and all of a sudden you see 4 or 5, 6 people jump in and join one or two people that are in line, and you're just thinking to yourself, oh my god, that's not cool. And yeah, that can be a situation. Carnival Cruise Addicts, you're on the right line of thinking. I won't say yours just because that might be one going on a little bit later. Mandy is here. She says, hey, coach, good to see you, Mandy. T-Boat on the go. Yes, line cutters for sure. And then they accuse you of cutting them. Let's see. Saving seats, nobody ever shows up. Chair hogs. Brad H is here. Confrontations are sometimes necessary. Sometimes you have to be a bigger a-hole than the other a-holes. My biggest pet peeves are delayed pure runners, music blasters, and the chair hogs. Brad, one thing, because people were joking about me being a pure runner, but if I'm in a position to be a pure runner, guess what? I actually run. Because the one time I was a pure runner and I realized I was a pure runner, I actually ran. As it turns out, wasn't that late, but it was still, the pier was still pretty empty, right? There was hardly anybody there. There were other late people, but I went ahead and ran, and people were cheering and everything else, because I felt bad. I'm like, here the ship. I mean, if everybody was here on time, the ship would have been removing the ropes and everything, and we'd be going away. So I did actually run. The one that does get me is when you see people that are really late and they just walk just as slow as they can. Like, oh, I don't care. I know I'm late. So what? And they just that's what I so want to see this one time. I want to see people thinking like they're too good. Like, oh yeah, the ship's going to wait for me. And I just want to see them starting to pull away the ropes and everything. Like, oh, this person's just going to walk. Okay, well, we're leaving then. And just start bringing everything in and make those people start running. I want them to see like, oh my God, they're actually pulling stuff in, and make them start running. I hate when I see people, they see the ship and they're just like, I'm not going to do anything. I don't care. It'll wait. They better wait for me, that they have that attitude. So yeah, so I'm with you on that. We call those lazy peer runners, Carnival Cruise Addicts. Yeah. Okay, good. So those were a couple good answers, and there's a couple there that I didn't say because they might be one of the other 4 things that we hate about other cruisers, right? Okay, so here's going to be number 4, and that is The entitled cruiser. What do I mean by entitled cruiser? The entitled cruiser, you know, they may have paid the least amount of money to get on the cruise ship. They may have paid the most money to get on the cruise ship. Usually, with the entitled cruiser, I see that maybe they're not somebody that's been on a lot of cruises because they might know how to act right or be a little bit nicer, but the entitled cruisers sometimes will treat the crew like crap, talking to them in a very, down way, like they're not a fellow human being and things like that. And most of us know, right, just how hard the crew work on these ships. And we sympathize with them, and we try to be extra nice to them and treat them like they're our friends. And in a lot of cases they may be our friends, or they soon will be our friends, right? Because we interact with them, we connect with them, we're friends with them on Facebook, we talk to them, we message them, they become friends. And then there's others that they just look at them like a worker and kind of like order them around, or it's just might yell at them, get really stern with them, really mad with them. And yeah, it, it's a little different when you're on a ship, but you know they just think that everything should go their way and everything should be done this way, and just have a very bossy, negative, stern kind of attitude or whatever. So that is that entitled cruiser that I'm talking about. Just going back really quick, touching on our previous one, and if you want to comment on number 4, the entitled cruiser, and can give an example of what I mean when you see, this entitled attitude, where people need to do what they want, and are demeaning to the crew and mean to the crew and not treating them professionally and stuff like that. Please put that in the comments here. But Nathaniel, touching on the last bit, says it's true. If they leave you, they also leave your stuff there at the port, or they just leave. Yeah, very true. Anne says people that put their personal property in the hallways, I won't get into the list. Okay, yeah, there's a good one. Brad says entitled ones, give me 10,000 onboard credit and 6 free cruises. Oh yeah. One of my tater tots was gold. Yeah, Brad, you just made me think of John Heald. So those of you that follow John Heald or watch some of his, things that he shares, and I share a lot of his weekly, well, they're not even weekly, but usually he comes with a weekly podcast, and I try to share that forward here on YouTube for you. But yeah, he talks about, say people miss a port or something like that. And yeah, it's unfortunate because you might really be looking forward to a particular port. Maybe it's because I missed it the first time, but the first time I missed Amber Cove, it was actually on the Carnival Vista and it was having engine problems. And it seems like I've been to Amber Cove 100 times now. It seems like I can't escape Amber Cove. Like every cruise I went on this past year, I swear it went to Amber Cove. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Enough of Amber Cove. Nothing against Amber Cove, but the time I had never been to it, I so wanted to go to that waterfalls excursion. And that is easily one of the best excursions you can go to on the Caribbean. Those of you that have never been, it's adventurous and you jump into waterfalls. Now, if you go through Carnival, you need to go actually through an outside vendor so you can actually jump off the waterfalls. But that is an option for you. But I couldn't go. And like I said, now it's supposed to be, like I said, I've gone like so many times, but I think they gave us $50 on board credit or something like that. And there were a lot of people, that were like, oh, this is great, $50, whatever. And they were happy with their $50, but then there are other people that, were really upset. And John has pointed out a few times that, people ask for a complete refund of their entire cruise because they miss one port and things like that. And sometimes it's weather related, or and it's out of their hands completely. And the Carnival does usually do a good job job of trying to, compensate cruisers that are impacted, especially when it's their air. I shared with you that, Carnival came through and, for the part that they felt was their error with my whole Australia debacle. But yeah, it's some of them just get way too entitled, right? And just expect the world for one little inconvenience or whatever. And we'll go to guest services and demand and give guest services, a big bunch of complaints and that type of thing. So, yeah, definitely feel that. Let's go up here. Seg, well, yeah, and actually, I don't know if you're misinterpreting what I'm saying or referring to something else. Absolutely, you want to say something. If there's something wrong, you absolutely say something because you talk about a problem. I talk about problems all the time. I'm going to say something, but and for example, let's talk about the internet. I got bad internet today, right? And the last few shows, it's been fine or whatever, but um, it'd be the type of thing where like, okay, the internet's not working. I might call, my internet carrier and be like, hey, I want some kind of compensation here because my internet was working and I need to do this show. And it's true. This is messing me up. That's why I pay for the extra service. And right now, paying that extra money obviously is not helping because the reason I paid for the extra money is so this wouldn't happen. So yeah, absolutely, you're in every right to complain. What I'm referencing is, over, they can only go do so much, right? Especially on a ship, and it depends on the situation. But I mean, maybe it is something so bad that they should comp you, a free cruise. Maybe, for example, I know my friends over at Island Time. There was one time, and maybe this happened to a couple different people. Maybe it wasn't Island Time, but somebody in their room, they were right by some sewer valve or something like that, but their room just reeked of sewer smell. Now, if you were in a room like that and they had no other rooms available for you and they couldn't fix the problem and you had to endure that for the entire duration of the cruise, if they went to guest services or they went to John Heald and they said, hey, you know, it was almost unbearable. We had to suffer through that. We couldn't sleep, because of the smell and there was nowhere to go. And we tried to sleep on lawn chairs and, that type of thing. Because the room was just, unbearable, the stink and whatever. Yeah, absolutely. I could see somebody going and, hoping to get compensated for a whole cruise, even if they got to, go to the ports and all that other stuff because of the smell, right? And, not being able to sleep comfortably in their rooms, that would make sense. But if somebody had to endure that for less than a day, right? And then they say, oh, we want an entire free cruise. I'm sure the cruise line would do something for them, but I doubt it would be, an entire free cruise because of one day of inconvenience. But should you, complain about it? Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I hope you didn't misinterpret that seg, but yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so if I'm sorry it wasn't clear on that. Yeah, and Mandy says the Poor Vista. Yeah, the Poor Vista, they got a lemon with that engine. I will say that. But hopefully it's up and running. And last I checked, it was running okay. And I saw a couple people talking about that, on Facebook cruise pages recently. All right. I'm just rambling a little too much here. Will G says they are the ones that don't read the contract. Cruise Life TV says, Coach, you deserve a free cruise. I'll tell you what, I was really happy with how Carnival treated me. Basically, for those of you that didn't hear this, my whole thing with Australia is Carnival, they heard my story and everything, and they realized like, hey, you kind of were misled by some of our Carnival employees because they basically suggested if I get my emergency passport and take care of all that stuff and get to Brisbane that I'd be able to get on the cruise. And obviously that wasn't the case because I did all that and I still wasn't able to get on because, a couple of the ports visited don't take emergency passports. And so what they did was they reimbursed me for all of my expenses endured while I was, from the time that I didn't make the first, you know, uh, day of embarkation, the day the cruise was supposed to set out. Since I didn't do that, in between that whole time, up until the time I left, and even my transportation home from the airport in Chicago, they took care of all that. Like so, food, my lodging, the meals in between those 2-3 days or whatever, hotels, all that other stuff. So, I thought that was very nice, and then gave me some fair credit and things like that. So it ended up being close to $1,500, and all in total, that's how much money I spent in just those 2-3 days trying to get on the ship, and then and the expenses incurred in between and the hotels and everything. It was crazy. So I was very happy that they did that. And like I said, I think within reason, they usually go above and beyond. I mean, just talking about Carnival here, I'm not sure about other cruise lines, but was happy with that. Ann says the med services are way overpriced. That's a good point. I mean, we're talking about the five most hated cruisers, but yeah, I have heard that. So that's one of the reasons they say that have insurance and that kind of thing, because people that have had to go to the med center on the ships, they do overcharge quite a bit. So try to have all those bases covered there. Cruise Life TV says we had a smell issue. They moved our cabin to a better cabin, and I think they have to have a certain number of open cabins for emergencies like that. But that's good in your case that they were able to do that. Carnival Cruise Addicts, how about people complaining when the hurricane? Yes. And that is one of the examples that John Heald was talking about, delays them from getting back into port. Yeah, I mean, obviously Mother Nature is, you can't do anything. Cruise lines can't do anything about that, but try to go around the storm and away from it and change itineraries and things like that. But as far as getting back to the home port, if that's where the hurricane's coming, obviously you want to keep away from there to keep everybody safe. Your fellow passengers and the very people complaining about it, you even want to keep them safe, right? So absolutely. Adventures with Uncle Dave, Carnival Cruise are absolutely ridiculous. Yes. Brad says we had a smell problem on a cruise. She ate too many Brussels sprouts. Oh, there's our comedian. Okay, we are going to go on to the third, number three, or yeah, I guess it's going to be number three either way, depending upon where. So five, we talked about were just selfish cruisers in general. Those cruisers that do things that only are in their interest and don't really care how it's impacting other cruisers around them. So we talked about, just smoking weed out in the open and having everybody endure your smell, and getting away with it that way. We talked about, the portable speakers. A lot of times you hear younger, cruisers, teens and things like that, that'll sneak these on, and then they're walking through the ship and playing that. Those are the ones where you secretly wish, like, oh, where is security now? Where is security? And they need to confiscate that thing right now, right? You're just hoping that happens in your head, but you don't want to be confrontational at the same time. So you just let it go. Okay, so that was number five. Number four, we talked about, entitled people that just think, the whole world revolves around them and they should be compensated and overcompensated and demean the crew and, just talk down to people and things like that because, they feel like they're so far up here that, everybody should basically bow down, or right. And number three, we're going to talk about the chair hoarders. The chair hoarders. This is an often controversial topic, and these are the people that will get up early enough to get some prime real estate close to the pool. The sun loungers we're talking about. It could be the main pool. It could be some other area of the ship that is sought after or desired, but some place that has a prominent position and some really great chairs in a great position. And people put a towel there and then they go away, sometimes for hours. And other people will notice and they're standing there and there's no sun loungers to be had for those people that are the sun bunnies out there, and they want a chair and there's none to be had. And then they finally sit somewhere or find some place and they notice a group of chairs and how people haven't been there in an hour and a half because that's how long they've been there, and the people still aren't back. So these individuals think that that's cool, that that's okay, right? And don't really care about everybody else because they want those loungers to be there for them at their convenience. And so they'll just block those off. Now, Carnival said they're going to do stuff about this, and other cruise lines have said they're going to do. Is any cruise line really good about that? Now, I know obviously sometimes we've seen instances where they are, monitoring these chairs and they'll pick up people's stuff, but it seems like it's never enough, right? There's always people complaining about these chair orders. I'm not a sun bunny myself because I got Irish skin and I look like a lobster if I lay out in the sun too much. But that is one of the major complaints. And there are cruisers that hate those cruisers that do that. So hopefully you're not one. Hopefully you're not one of the hated ones. Anne is saying the Serenity area beds, Mandy says, yeah, those beds look amazingly comfy, right? So people will throw some stuff on there. I staked it out. It's mine for the next 8 hours. Even though I'm only going to be here for an hour and a half of those 8 hours, it's mine for 8 hours. And they will just hoard that Serenity bed, right? Or that little, clamshell area or whatever. Yeah, those are cruisers people hate. Anne says, oh my God, why won't the cruise line enforce, right? Once in a while, you'll see Carnival or another cruise line say, oh yeah, we're doing something about it, and they'll bring on, a crew member and say, okay, what this young lady's going to do here is if, your stuff is there and it's been a half an hour or 45 minutes or whatever, they're going to put a little sticker on the chair or something like that. And you can pick your stuff up at the towel hut. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. And the times they don't, frustrate other cruisers because those are loungers that they want. And I've heard some cruisers say, they know people are just not coming back and they pick up their stuff and they'll take it to the towel people and say, hey, yeah, these people were just hoarding chairs. Here's their stuff. And they'll take over their chairs. And, when people come back, that's sometimes when you get confrontation, like, where's my stuff or whatever. And, the people that move their stuff or whatever, then I've seen almost fights over that. So that's one of the reasons why, people don't move other people's stuff. But those that do, can't blame you for doing it. But yeah, that can cause some controversy. So that's why those people are cruisers that other people hate. All right, let's see some of these comments here. Cruise Life TV says Carnival enforces it with a sticker. They put it on, but it needs to be done better. I got to get CCA and Cruise Life TV back on here so I don't have to talk so much. I'm getting dry mouth here. Will G says for the prime spots are in the shade. Yeah. Will, I want the shade spots. That's me. Definitely. Ann says I've been cruising for 20 years. It has been barely enforced. Yeah, I feel the same. And like they talk a good game and they say they're going to do something about it. I think what it is honestly, we talk about the crew working very hard. Sometimes they stretch these poor crew members too far. and they have them working so hard that they don't have time to enforce this kind of stuff because they're so busy folding towels, doing all this other stuff that they don't even have time to walk around and monitor and see like, oh, okay, I've noticed these chairs have been empty for over an hour. They don't really have time to look around because they're busy doing other stuff. So unless they, actually invest in a person whose sole job is to walk all over an area and monitor areas of chairs and how long they've been unoccupied, that kind of thing, it's probably not going to be something that can be enforced very easily. And most people aren't going to stand around and look at some chairs for a half hour or longer saying, hey, nobody's using these, and then go tell the towel attendant. Usually they're just going to walk around until they find some, right? So it's a difficult situation to deal with. Adventures with Uncle Dave. I sat at a table that had a single empty glass on it just to eat my burger, and a family showed and said they saved the table with a glass. That is funny. They saved the table with a glass. Okay. Yeah. Well, you get all kinds. There are casino chair hoarders too. Explain that one, T-Bode. There are casino. Are you talking about the slot machines? That'll save chairs for other people, the slots. I think that's maybe what you mean. Carnival Cruise Addicts. Carnival Cruise Addicts says, not us at T-Boat on the Go. They are not the casino chair hoarder. So T-Boat on the Go says, no, I wasn't talking about you, but they are out there. All right. I don't care what chair I get in the casino. Just put me in the chair that pays money when I sit down and put my money in. That's not a problem with me. I never know what slot machines. I could probably talk to Carnival Cruise Addicts or some of you out there that are big slot machine people, and you could give me a strategy to finding, those winning machines or whatever. Usually I just go on a hunch and I kind of walk around and I'm like, ooh, here's my machine. This is the one that's going to pay me money. I've had some luck with the Wheel of Fortune machines, and people keep telling me to play those Buffalo, and I've tried the Buffalo ones, but the Buffalo doesn't seem to like me. The Wheel of Fortune has been nice to me, but yeah, the Buffalo not as nice. The Buffalo doesn't want to do the stampede or whatever it's supposed to do. T-Boat on the Go, yes, or they just sit there taking up space and never play a single penny. Yeah, that's probably true. I've sat down before I used to buy the Cheers package and they gave me free drinks in the casino. Usually I don't even sit down. Usually if you stand by a slot machine and the wait staff comes around, you can ask for a drink. And, the thing is you got to wait. But that used to be my strategy before I got the Cheers package. That was a while ago. But yeah, I've seen some people will just, sit down. They won't even play, but they'll, want to cash in on the free drinks, which that part I can't blame them for. And so they'll just, sit at a machine or stay in an area and get the drinks. Mandy says, I like the Dragon Link machines. Okay. I think I know which ones those are. Carnival Cruise Addicts, so many to choose. Piggies, Dancing Drums, Firelink, Buffalo. We love them all. You didn't mention my Wheel of Fortune. You don't like the Wheel of Fortune, Carnival Cruise Addicts? Okay, let's get to number 2. We talked about the lounge holders. That was number 3. Number 4 was the entitled cruisers, those cruisers that are rude to crew, that just feel like any little thing that goes wrong, they should be compensated 10 times the going rate, that kind of thing. Just too much, right? The kids, one of the things they say in this area, if they feel like your rules are too strict or maybe you're asking them to do too much, they'll say, you do too much. So yeah, that's one of the things here that they say. But and then number 5 was the selfish cruiser, the cruiser that's walking around with a portable speaker, blasting it, walking around the ship. And again, a lot of times I've noticed that's a teen. Oh, another one, the selfish cruiser, right? And not to pick on the teens or the kids too much, but because there are some teens or kids that are great. They're very respectful. They're I don't want to put down and just say like all kids on these cruise ships are just a pain in the butt, because there are some really really great kids that are brought up well and taught how to act and be respectful. And to be honest, some of these kids are more respectful and kind and nice than some of the adults that are on the ship, right? Let's be honest. But there's a lot of teens that are teens, like, that act like kids, and snotty little teens and things like that. So we've probably all run into those teens that you're trying to walk down the stairs or something, and there's a pack of them just sitting on every stair, and you can't even get through because they don't aren't even nice enough to make sure that they leave an aisleway for you to walk down. They just take over stairways and things like that. The other thing that I really dislike is when people drop something in the middle of a public area and they just leave it there, right? I mean, I'm not talking about like spilling a drink and just leaving the liquid part there, because obviously there might not be a mop around or something like. I'm talking about dropping a drink and leaving the cup and everything there, or dropping an ice cream cone and not even picking up the ice cream cone, like just leaving the whole cone and everything just laying there on the floor. To me, it's just like, how do you do this? How can you not at least pick up that other people are walking by, and you're just going to be such a slob to just leave that in the middle of a public area. you know yeah, I mean, just, I don't know, it's just frustrating. I'm getting frustrated thinking about it, because, and then crew got to run around behind people like this, and that aren't even decent enough to pick up their own mess. Yeah, I mean, like I said, and I'm not saying that people should wipe up every little bit or anything like that, but at least pick up the big part, so other people aren't walking over it or through it or whatever. So yeah, I'll get off the soapbox about that right now. All right, let's see. But how about the people that cut the line on the buffet for one item, then stay in the damn line? Oh, yeah, you know what? I don't go to the buffet too often, but if I saw that, that would frustrate me, Uncle Dave. So I hear you on that. Um, Uncle Dave, I don't understand. This is from Cruise Life TV. Are the people that pile up their plate when they can go back and get more? It's probably because they don't want to get back in line again, right? And look at this. We got Michelle from Cruise Life TV. She says, I think it is time for a shot after talking about these wonderful cruisers. And I love that idea, Michelle. And Zoe, is it time for another treat? Come here. You're not being the best co-host today. You're supposed to be up here so people can see you, right? So big high five for Michelle and Greg from Cruise Life TV. And what do you say? What do you say? You say thank you. Yeah, there you go. All right, so you can go enjoy that. And Michelle and Greg, thank you, because I will enjoy this shot. This is, I think, only my second one here. So y'all are keeping me sober today. All right. So that you are 28 through 42. We're almost halfway. And let me get this shot poured here. That first one hit hard. I guess I haven't been, my tolerance isn't what it used to be, but woo, Greg and Michelle and I will be doing a little bit of that New Year's Eve, because they are going on the New Year's Eve cruise with me on the Carnival Vista. Hopefully all the engine problems are taken care of by then. And thank you for that. I'm sure we'll be doing a few of those together when we get on that cruise. So that will be very fun. But thank you for that shot there. Do appreciate it. Nathaniel says, I've seen the servers call the line cutters out if they catch it. Well, that's good. And Cruise Life TV says, yes, we will. And yes, we will. Absolutely. All right. So we are getting to number 2. And this one is very fitting right now. And for those of you that have been on a cruise recently, because I haven't been on one since June. And I have oh my goodness, next month it is here. I'm finally back on a ship. I cannot wait. I've been jealous of so many of you that have been on cruises in between that time that I haven't been on one. So I'm getting excited for that cruise next month. But that is politics and religion. You probably saw it on the thumbnail picture when you looked at this show today. And now we are in the political season, right? So those of you that have been on cruises recently, are there people out there sharing politics for people that they don't know? It's one thing if you go with a group of people that you know and you know their political stance, maybe that's something you enjoy talking about, but you know the person. If you know the person and you know that person doesn't mind talking politics or enjoys talking about it, that's one thing. We're talking about trying to sell somebody on your political beliefs, or complaining about, or trying to just air your opinions on politics on a cruise ship, on vacation, to people you don't know, but you just think like you believe this so much that everybody has to hear about it, because you want to make sure that whatever candidate you're for, that they win, right? And I've seen it not too often. I feel like it's newer cruisers, or maybe it's cruisers that just don't care, or maybe they think that it's so important that they need to talk about it. But keep the politics at home, right? Keep the religion at home. There are people that have different religious beliefs, and I know everybody believes that their religion or their politics is the one. That's why you believe in it, right? But not everybody does. So you need to keep that at home. So if you were one of these cruisers, you are one of the cruisers that people hate. And I hate to say that. That sounds so bad. But absolutely, that is the big no-no in cruising, is talking politics, talking religion to people that you're not sure of which way they go. Or even if they're just an earshot, right? I remember I was in the pool. I don't know what ship it was on, but this lady was just going on and on about politics, talking as loud, and she might have been talking to, a friend, but I mean, like, there's other people in the pool. It wasn't like they were talking in a normal voice. They were across the pool from one another, so you couldn't help hear them because they're essentially yelling at each other. And it's just like, we don't want to, if you're sitting at a table somewhere and you're minding your own business, fine. But if you're in a pool with 15 other people, we don't want to hear your whole political discussion. Or even if you're in agreement with them, keep it at home. Keep it at home. Okay. Brad says, can you imagine being on any cruise on election day? I cannot imagine that. Although I'm going to be pretty close to that. I believe, let's see, my cruise boards, I want to say the 23rd. The big votes are done by then, right? But it'll be right about that time. So it's going to be close for me, Brad. It's going to be close. Mandy says, yes, all caps. Seg says, we did not hear or see 2 weeks ago. Well, that's good. I think that's one of those unwritten rules that most people know about. And that's why the list of, cruisers hate is pretty short. And, that's why I can have a video like this, because I feel like most people don't fall into any of these categories. Most people don't. I think we've all tried to save a chair or something now and then, but, not probably most of us haven't done like the lounger thing where, we've left it there for like 6-8 hours. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. Maybe there's some people out there that are doing that. But let's see. Mandy says, on the Mardi Gras, a guy was wearing a flag and was changing with his friends at the Brass Magnolia Bar. You know what? I've seen people. I mean, I don't care if somebody wears is patriotic and, wears a flag or whatever. It's just, I mean, just, if you're proud of your country, whether it's an American flag or whatever other country you're from, hey, great. You can be proud of your country. You can wear, a flag. If you're wearing something that clearly is saying, hey, I'm this or I'm that, and you're at least not talking about it. I mean, you're still bringing that on. Like, I think most people could do without that. Like, they don't even want to see it. Even if they're, sharing that support. It's one thing, like people, it's weird. It's kind of I mean, it's a controversial topic, right? But it's one of those things, like I see people that are fans of rival teams, maybe they're playing each other that week. And those people are perfectly fine with one another. They'll talk trash and things like that, but it's all in good fun or whatever. But for some reason, like if you get into politics, that's like too heavy of stuff, right? Because we're talking about, serious stuff and everything. And it just gets very uncomfortable. It gets very awkward. So yeah, it's just, whatever. Oh, Andy is saying Channing. Chrono Cruise Addict says it's just so annoying. Leave that crap at home. I agree. And they followed up with, we don't care. And I agree. Cruise Life TV. Yeah, this is the religion on cruises that I follow as well. They drink religiously, But, and that's a good point, Cruise Life TV. I don't force that religion on anybody else, right? We drink religiously, but we don't force that religion on anybody else. We just, mind our business about it. We keep it to ourselves. So there's that. But yes, I'm in, that same religion, Cruise Life TV. Michelle says, Jesus turned water into wine, and I think he was on to something there. I agree. That's funny. Michelle, you're trying to steal Brad's job here. That's supposed to be a joke from Brad. Wait, you're trying to sneak a treat over here. I'm about to give you a high five and give you a good treat, and you're like, hey, yeah, no, you got to hold off there, sister. Plus, you should have been sitting up here the whole time anyway. So Brad appreciated that joke, and then we got Scott. Scott, this was supposed to be your show. We're talking controversial cruising. Scott from Controversial Cruising is here and says, Coach. And we've had these controversial topics. This is all about Scott right here. This could have been the title of the show. The cruisers that are hated are controversial. And what is it about that they hate? We're talking about that today. We still have one more to go. But let me finish up the comments here and we'll get to the last one. It's one that I think everybody. Yes, Controversial Cruising says, I heard controversy. All right, and the number one hated cruisers. Number one, I think most people are going to be in agreement on this, is those people that start actual fights, right? I mean, whenever we see these fights on videos and things like that, and most of the time, the fight will be an argument, right? But sometimes that argument gets into physical altercations, and it makes the cruise line look crummy. I know when there's fights on Carnival, I've been on one ship for sure. I know there was a fight, and I shared video. I didn't actually wasn't there myself. I was on the ship, but wasn't where the fight was. But I know somebody had made the comment like, oh, that's just so Carnival, the type of people they get on Carnival, or, this only happens on Carnival. No, it happens on all cruise lines. And, I've seen it on Royal, video that, people fighting, things like that. It happens on all cruise lines. Maybe there is one cruise line more than another, because if they charge cheaper prices or whatever, then not to say that, people with money are less likely to get in fights, but it does seem to happen, right? But yeah, the people that are fighting, look, you're going on vacation. And we talked about it earlier about trying to stay out of confrontation. Sometimes you need to say something, and then sometimes, it's best like, you know what? I'm just going to be annoyed right now and just let this go. This is going to pass in a minute or so, and then I can go back to enjoying myself, even though this person is being selfish or whatever, because you don't want to create a scene or get all upset or whatever. You're on vacation. You don't want any confrontation. You don't even want an argument confrontation, right? But some people get into these and it turns into a full-on fight. That's why Carnival, among other cruise lines, is taking such a strong stance, saying that they're going to put heavy fines on people that actually fight, and they're going to ban them from the cruise line for good, because it is such a negative, look to their cruise line, and it hurts their bottom line, right? I mean, I think probably Carnival has got the worst stereotype in terms of this kind of behavior, and that not just fighting, but the marijuana, everything else like that. I remember Christine Duffy seemed to launch a whole campaign about how they're going to take a stronger stance, and to her credit, they really have, on cracking down on the marijuana and things like that, and other things to make it more family friendly, and a cruise line that you feel good about, right? And not so low class or whatever, where people are doing these types of things and people are getting into fights all the time and stuff like that. And I think it's helped. I think it's helped quite a bit, because it is such a bad look. But yeah, people hate people that fight. They hate those cruisers. They don't want people that are going to be starting that kind of thing on the cruise line. They are number one on the list of cruisers that people hate the most. Adventures with Uncle Dave says banned, all exclamation point. Mandy Smith says cringes, yeah, at the thought of these fights. Hey, Together We Travel is here, says hello, everyone, and hello, Together We Travel. Scott was last to check in. If there's anybody that has not checked in, jump in on the comments and just say hey before we say goodbye. I am going to wait for a couple more comments. I need to take a drink here. We still have 23 people on. Thank you, everybody. I know we had some people drop off because my signal was bad. And then we probably had some people drop off at the beginning because I was a little late signing on. So I will carry this on a little bit later, so we make sure we get through a full hour. Actually, I think we have gotten through a full hour still. But cheers to everybody. This is the first show in quite a while where we didn't give away at least one shirt. But I want to thank Cruise Life TV, did a $5 super chat. Frankie Floyd did a $5 super chat. Carnival Cruise Addicts and Cruise Life TV both did $15 super chats. So thank you all that did super chats. And thank you, everybody, in the comments. It's been a lively show with comments in terms of, 5 things that are 5 cruisers that are hated, 5 types of cruisers that are hated. We can give those examples. Number 5, once again, was, the selfish cruiser, the cruiser where it's just about them, their individual enjoyment, forget everybody else. So we gave a couple of examples, but one was, the portable speakers, just walking around the ship with a portable speaker and music going, not just like in your room or something like that, or just on your balcony. That would be one thing, even, people around your balcony could hear, but, at least it would be in your space, right? We're talking about public spaces where they're walking and they know they're going by their people and they're just playing their music because it's either all about them or they think like, hey, my music's amazing. If people don't like this, they need to hear it, right? Because they will love it. And, obviously that's not going to be the case for everybody. So we're talking about the selfish cruiser. Number 4 was that entitled cruiser, the cruiser that thinks the world revolves around them. And, they might be rude to crew that we know who works so hard to give us a good vacation and stuff like that. And just feel like they should be compensated far above and beyond whatever the incident is that maybe, burden them just a little bit, right? I had to wait an extra you know, 5 minutes before I got seated for dinner, I should be giving a free steakhouse meal, or something like that. And I'm exaggerating, but that's it. Like it could be one minor thing, and people want this big, return to because they were inconvenienced a little bit. That might be a slight exaggeration. Number three was what was number three? Oh, the loungers, people hoarding chairs, right? And the sun bunnies that will stake out a couple chairs early in the morning and then hold them down for 6, 8 hours, but only use them for like an hour, hour and a half. And then they'll get all mad when their stuff is moved because they haven't been there in 2 hours, and they get mad because their stuff was moved and it should have just been left there all day long, apparently, right? Number two was politics and religion, keeping those things at home. Glad you love your candidates or your particular politics or whatever, but just realize not everybody on the ship is going to share that same opinion. So you don't need to voice those opinions because you're on vacation, and people don't want to get in arguments and stuff about politics or hear your views or whatever, because their views may be different than yours. So keep that to yourself, along with the religion as well. Again, I know you feel your religion is the best one, and it might be, but not everybody feels that same way. And then finally, number one was fights, right? All right, we got a few people checking out. Will G says, good night, all. Good night, Will. Nathaniel says, exactly. It's just so stupid. The ship is huge. Move about. No need to fight. I cannot agree more. And yeah, good night, Will. Good night, everybody. Seg says, great show, Coach. And thank you, Seg. And thank you, everybody. I know I came on a little bit late, a few minutes late. Woke up late from my little nap. And thank you, everybody, for sticking in there. And if you haven't already hit that like button, if you could do that on your way out, if you like the show, I'd appreciate that. And if there's anybody that's out there that's not subscribed already, if you could hit that subscribe button, even better. But thank you all. Next week, we got one of our brother channels, Island Time, is coming on, and we're going to be talking about how to get the best cruise rates, when the best time is to do that, how to save you some money, things like that. If you didn't already know, we got Island Time. Like I said, they are travel agents now as well. So Derek and Amanda, they're working hard on the travel agent side, and they've been doing it long enough to know how to save you some money. And if, for example, one of the things I asked Derek when talking about the show is I said, hey, there's some cruise lines that I want to check out that I haven't been on. And I know that first time that you go, you're probably not going to get a really great discounted rate because you're new. So one of the things I said is, how do I go about doing that? If I want to get a really good rate, but I've never cruised that particular line, what's my best strategy to, try out that line, but without paying a super high price? So that's just one of the things that we'll be talking about next week with Derek from Island Time, and maybe Amanda will jump in there as well. Cruise Life TV says they booked our New Year's Eve cruise. Excellent. And Carnival Cruise Addict says we will be cruising next week, so we'll catch the replay. Michelle says Island Time. Yay, sounds like a great topic for next week. Yeah, I'm hoping it will be. And thank you, everybody. I'm going to let you go. Appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your week. Hopefully the weekend gets here fast for you. And look, my Wi-Fi just improved by 1 bar. So, no, and then it went back again. All right, so take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. We will see you, and happy cruising. Bye-bye.